Hello, class. Let's talk about supply chain management, shall we? So, whether you're manufacturing an actual tangible item that you're going to sell to customers or you're producing some type of service, you've got a supply chain. And obviously, the supply chain is more complicated if there is a physical item. And so, traditionally, you are purchasing materials, raw materials from suppliers, and you're sending it to your factory, you're producing the item, storing it, hopefully temporarily, and then you're shipping it along to customers. And the whole process of looking after that whole event from start to finish is called supply chain management. So I was involved in a company that manufactured sheet metal products, and we would wait for actual sheet metal of different gauges to come in, run it through machines, and ship it out to distributors who would hold an inventory on hand for local orders. Also, if there was a large job going on, we might ship materials directly to the job site. And so the distributor would be part of that sale, but wouldn't have to carry the inventory on hand. Although if there was a problem on the job site and they needed some more items, they could go to the local inventory. So there's a lot of complications with it because obviously you don't want to be holding materials or finished products for too long because it costs you money. To store it, to have an item on your books that is not sold and bringing in revenue. But at the same time, you don't want to be short of either a raw material or a finished product at any point in the process because then you're holding everything up. So if we ran out of sheet metal of a certain gauge, we couldn't manufacture certain products. And that was a problem if we had a job waiting for them. It's also an issue if you can't get your stuff together and shipped out to the customer in a timely fashion either. And we had plenty of situations where we're waiting around on a job site for a truck to get there, and we were trying to track down the truck driver through the company that was doing the delivering and trying to find cell phones and finding the person, and you'd find out that they were in the wrong state or they were in a different location than they reported or they couldn't find you or whatever. So the process sounds kind of simple, but mistakes in this process cost people jobs, cost companies a ton of money. So there's a lot of terms in this chapter. They talk about things like materials flow and supply chain management and vertical integration, interorganizational information systems. And you can read about all those things in the chapter. I just want to point out there's a difference between being horizontally integrated, which is where you might pick up items from other business units or from other companies, and being vertically integrated. So in the old days, Ford Motor Company would actually own the rubber plantations of the rubber plant trees that would produce rubber that they could vulcanize and make tires, and then their tires would go to their plant to be installed with the rest of the parts to make a vehicle, and then they would send it along to the dealerships that they also owned. And so that's total vertical integration. And what you see with globalization today is that very rarely do you have complete vertical integration. You have many companies and suppliers involved in this process. Often there are middlemen involved in actually selling the products. So if you look at an item like an Apple laptop, they're pulling materials like titanium and silicon chips, and they're getting their chips from Intel, and they're shipping all these items to a factory in Indonesia where it's put together, and then it's shipped out to an intermediary, the middleman like Best Buy. They're carrying an inventory for a certain period of time, and then it's getting passed along to the customer. So it's pretty complex, and the more that the partners in this venture can know about each other and about the process and what items are in stock and what raw materials are in stock, the better. And so that's why you have the introduction of these systems where every party involved can look in on the process and see what's happening. And this includes even the customers. When you buy something and they're giving you a UPS tracking number, you're part of this system. You can go into UPS's tracking system and see, okay, has your item left the Amazon warehouse, Is it en route? Is it at your house? Did somebody swipe it? All those kinds of things. So there's a lot of concepts that the book is going to cover, like push versus pull manufacturing. And now the great emphasis is on pull. Commercial real estate is expensive. You don't want to be carrying a lot of product. And also what they now know is that very rarely do professional commercial predictors of trends, very rarely are they correct. So if the buyers for Macy's think that, A-line skirts are going to be the trend this season, more often than not, they're wrong. And that means that Macy's has bought a ton of A-line skirts that are now not going to sell. They have to mark them down significantly to get rid of them. And so if you carry a smaller inventory, you kind of minimize those mistakes. On the flip side, if you don't have enough of what people want, sometimes they'll go and look at other suppliers and you might lose them as a customer, or they just get frustrated with you. And plenty of businesses actually go out of business because they can't provide enough of the material that people are looking for. So think about all those things. The activity this week for the discussion involves playing a game that sort of mirrors this process, helps you figure out what this process is like. And then to talk a little bit about the technology involved in all this, not only are these integrative systems helping partners track what each other is doing and figuring out what their partners need, but also it's just easier in general to keep inventory, to keep track of expensive items. In chapters past and weeks past, we've talked about RFID tags. You can have those on all sorts of items, and then instead of having someone try to go out to the warehouse and physically count the products that you have, they can just zip through there with the scanner and they know exactly what they have and where. They'll scan items at several different points on the way into the warehouse, on the way out of the warehouse, on the way off of the truck, on the job site, all those kinds of things. Make it much easier to track. And then the chapter pays a lot of emphasis, or puts a lot of emphasis on electronic data interchange, which is a type of system that allows you to pass common documents between partners very easily. So if a purchase order is generated for your partner that supplies raw materials, they get it. All of their accounting systems pick up on that. They bill you automatically. It goes right through their production system. And so you're not dealing with this multitude of forms getting faxed back and forth like there used to be, where there's a lot of opportunity for error in there. And so this even has gone as far as having extranets that are connecting different partners through VPNs or virtual private networks that are secure, and that allows this data to move back and forth very quickly and makes the whole process very efficient. So it's really interesting to think about how this works. It's even more interesting if you ever have the opportunity to be involved in this process. As I was, you pick up on the usefulness of these systems very quickly. So have fun learning about this and playing that game. I think it's pretty interesting, and we will see you next week.